fellow commissioners, it is indeed a somewhat difficult agenda item today. It's not one that we ever wanted to have, but nonetheless, we are in the absence of a great contributor, a longtime contributor, not just to the First Five Commission, but to the broader mission in our entire community of childhood development and progress in terms of the health and well-being of children in our county, in our region. It came as a great surprise, I think, to every one of us that Dr. Steve Wirtz was even ill, and that when he passed, certainly left us all very taken aback, shocked. And we wanted to make sure that we appropriately honored his legacy here at the Commission, and I suspect this probably won't be the only venue where Nicole's father will be honored appropriately, but we wanted to do our best and at least memorialize in word what he has meant to the Commission and what he's meant to the community. So I don't usually do this in terms of reading the entirety of resolutions aloud, but I think in this case it's appropriate. So if you will indulge me, I'd like to read this resolution from the Sacramento First Five Commission, honoring Dr. Steve Wirtz for his dedicated service on the First Five Sacramento Children and Families Commission. Whereas on this day, October 7th, 2024, Steve Wirtz is being recognized with his posthumous resolution for more than 2 decades of service supporting First Five Sacramento. And whereas Steve Wirtz was an original First Five Sacramento architect, steering the vision and mission of the Commission's very first strategic plan 25 years ago, and has been involved in every strategic and implementation plan since. And whereas Steve Wirtz served on the advisory committee providing recommendations to the Commission on emerging issues prior to becoming a First Five Commissioner in 2013. And whereas Steve Wirtz served as the chair of the evaluation committee, where he worked with our funded partners to advance the Commission's evaluation processes, preserve the integrity of child and parent data, and provide analytical feedback on the development of numerous evaluation reports. And whereas Steve Wirtz spent the majority of his career at the California Department of Public Health, focused on statewide evaluation efforts for life-saving maternal and infant health programs while implementing critical system change initiatives. And whereas Steve Wirtz worked tirelessly to uplift the vision of First Five, to promote optimal health and development, narrow disparities, and improve the lives of all children prenatal through age 5 and their families. And whereas Steve Wirtz was integral on the development of the Commission's racial equity and social justice resolution, thus reinforcing First Five's commitment to address institutional and structural racism. And whereas Steve Wirtz's passion and leadership, professional expertise, and community experience serving the most vulnerable populations made a significant difference, and his contribution and legacy to the Sacramento community will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, be it resolved that First Five Sacramento hereby extends its sincere appreciation and gratitude to Steve Wirtz for his steadfast commitment and service. And commissioners and staff will remember the impact Dr. Steve Wirtz made on improving the quality of life for young children and families in Sacramento County and throughout the state. Presented October 7th, 2024. So, again, I think those are very appropriate words that capture just a small portion of what Dr. Steve Wirtz meant to our entire community. And certainly want to offer the microphone here to his daughter, Nicole, if she would like to make some comments. And then I suspect there'll probably be others on the commission and staff that may want to say a few words. But this resolution, Nicole, is in honor of your late father and what he's done for us here in Sacramento County. Thank you.
A lot shorter. So just on behalf of my mom, Rhonda, who couldn't be here, she's out of the country actually with some other family members, I just wanted to express our deep gratitude for today and for the resolution and for just making space to honor my dad. You know, most of you know he was a data person, but data to him was important because each data point represented kids, represented families, represented a broader community, and so that was never lost. And so I just appreciate the work that you all continue to do in supporting and funding the people on the ground, boots on the ground, doing the work every day to support families and young kids and the broader Sacramento community, and just am pleased and honored to have him honored in this way going forward. So thanks.
I think at this point I'll open up the floor to others that would like to make some comments, and then at the conclusion, what I'd like commissioners to do is join me down in the pit with Nicole to take a commemorative photograph. So I will try and chair from the podium. Who would like to speak next? Dr. Kasiri.
So I'm going to try and speak without breaking down, but I really appreciated his passion and his enthusiasm, and his voice is going to be really missed. I remember a number of times in the when we went for the evaluation meetings, and he had such a thorough analysis and assessment of the report. And sometimes I'd sit back and say, wow, mine is kind of paltry. But I really appreciated his analysis. And like you said, data wasn't just numbers to him. It represented lives. And it showed when he spoke. He brought the data to life. And he spoke in such a way that even lay people understood what he was talking about. So greatly appreciate the contribution that he has made to First Five, and he will forever be missed.
Great, thank you. Others?
Yeah, I'll try to. I'm so thankful that you're here. I'm not sorry. I'm sad because it's like a perfect reaction to what he meant, not just to me personally for the last, 20 or 25 years that I've known him, and I'd call him Uncle Steve, and he'd get pissed about that. And I'd make fun of his tie, and he'd get more angry, but in that funny way that he would. There's few people that I've had the chance to know and work with that have that depth of care about their industry. And he was relentless in his pursuit of justice and support for those that need it the most, and would always have a question he would always offer to make something better. And he's been doing that for decades. And he was also a little bit private, I would always try to tap in a little bit on his life and ask about you and your mom. And I don't think I realized that he actually was you're an epidemiologist and sociologist, and I'm like, of course, of course. And I can't fathom what you and your family are dealing with, but the impact he made on so many of us in this community and people that don't even know that he was making an impact on their behalf. That's the thing that probably gets me the most, and that's what I feel like we have to figure out a way to step in and step up for, is to make up for that gap that Dr. Kasiri said. So I know there's a lot of people. Stephanie Biegler behind you back there has worked with him even longer than I have, and there's just so many people in this community that were and are so deeply touched by your dad, and I can't thank the heavens enough that I had that time with him. And now that I get to, like, a little bit over social media, know you, I'm so happy about that. So my best to you and your family.
Thanks, Commissioner Moak.
Sorry.
Others? Commissioner Kias?
Thank you, and I'm so glad you're here, Nicole. I got to work with Steve Marceau on through our prevention cabinet, and he whenever there were data discussions, because I was on the data committee, I would wait for him to talk, and I'd say, I totally concur with Dr. Wirtz. Like, he knew it and was able to put a story behind it that involved children and families. He was always there when I'd reach out, hey, do you have time for a quick question? Of course. And he helped me understand data in a way that we were able to make some systemic changes within CPS. So he impacted the littles through system, which I think is where the most critical and profound changes can happen. I'm going to miss him terribly. I love that this is up. We started that at the prevention cabinet, and then more folks added in. But he will be deeply missed.
Any others on the commission?
I didn't get to know your dad as well, except in my short tenure, sometimes you wonder how much people care. But you could tell he was all in, and he was all in for equity, and he was unafraid. And I think that was a beautiful spirit, and I could tell with his heart. And when you shared, it wasn't just numbers, but it was the people behind the numbers that came through so clearly, and the piece that says humanitarian. Yeah, so we send you love.
Julie.
I'm going to read because I ugly cry, and it's really ugly. But so these are just some thoughts that I put together about Steve over the weekend. He was truly a model of what it means to be a servant to the community. I think that from the minute he woke up in the morning, probably until he went to bed at night, he was just always thinking about how he could make the world a better place, especially for those who had the least. Lisa from ASR had this quote, and I just had to say it too. He had a heart of gold, the mind of a genius, and the earnest curiosity of a child. And I just think that like so well described him. And that he used those gifts to make us all think and do better every day. His spirit was so present at our last commission meeting, which I honestly think was the first meeting he didn't attend, at least in the 9 years I've been here. And it was really like he was in the room with us, as I had mentioned before. Like, he started with Commissioner Moak channeling him, and then so many people came up and said, well, Steve, Commissioner Wirtz isn't here today, but I think he'd want me to say this, that, or the other thing. And so it was just that, like, level of impact. That's one example of the level of impact that he's had on all of us. He's definitely a part of the DNA of First Five and so many systems in Sacramento County, and because of his statewide work across the state. His reach and impact are everywhere, and I know that we'll all be mentioning him for many years to come, and it's just been it's been my honor and pleasure to work with your dad over the last 9 years.
Beth.
I sat next to Steve for years and always felt like a slacker. He was always taking copious notes whenever anybody was presenting, and he was always, just one more thing, just one more question, just one more comment, and was just so diligent and so smart and could read between the lines with the data and the feedback we'd get, and very sad to that he's gone, but proud to have gotten to work alongside him.
I think we have a member of the public that would like to address this. Is that right? You're welcome to join me at the podium here. This is Robin Blake Scuster.
I just want you to know that I really appreciated your dad. I knew him for a few years, but when I started talking to him, I felt like he understood where I was coming from, what was going on. He knew about the neighborhoods. He was just that person that you would talk to, and he would help you come up with solutions. I looked at him as my mentor because when I joined the First Five, I was on advisory, and then I started the evaluation. And he would be like, oh, yeah, that's a good question. Or he would be like, might want to dig a little deeper. So he was like mentoring me for that. And I feel like I should be channeling him when I do the evaluation committee, and I can't slack off anymore. He was just so good and so much fun. I remember some of the little galas and things that we went to, and he was always looking at stuff and just making little comments about how it might improve or how this could do better. And I'm really gonna miss him. I'm gonna be looking like, wait, where is he? Why isn't he speaking in my ear? Why aren't we doing this? So I just want you to know that he's really gonna be missed, and basically, I just love him. Okay. Thank you.
So I'll conclude with some personal remarks as the chair. And I just met Nicole, I think as many of you have. Unfortunately, we now have something in common, and that is we have a late father that meant so much more than just what it meant to the family, immediate family and friends, but to an entire community. And so if there's anything I can offer is that you should take some solace in every time you see an occasional news story or public mention of First Five, the good work that this commission does, and all the partner initiatives that we're a part of that certainly, as was mentioned in the resolution, is the benefactor of your dad being the architect of much of that. You should take solace in those accounts as kind of a living memorial of your father's legacy. And, I still mourn my father after decades now, but, I kind of see him everywhere, in different parts of the city and the region, things that he touched. And you should definitely feel the same way about all the just fundamentally important work as it relates to what is the most important part of our community, which is our young people, the youngest people. So again, I wish we weren't here, but I want you to know that as was shown in the emotion here in the last few minutes, that your father really was not just an occupant of a seat. He was, in many respects, kind of the fulcrum of this commission. So please know that as chair, I will certainly miss him. He was kind of my seatmate for years, sitting right next to me, and I got used to, as Beth mentioned, the fact that he was never done speaking. He would. So as chair, I just kind of, I got used to long pauses to make sure that he had every opportunity to get his important words out. So with that, what I'd like to do, as I mentioned, is invite the commissioners down, and we will take a photo, if you're okay with that. Yeah.